I believe whatever doesn't kill you simply makes you stranger.
An R rating for these movies would have stood for rectified. Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 PG-13 movies that should have been rated R. For this list, we're looking at PG-13 movies that would have benefited from an R-rated approach, and not so much overly edgy PG-13 movies we think the MPAA misjudged. Number 20, Suicide Squad.
We're bad guys. It's what we do.
The film coming off the heels of the very dour Batman vs. Superman, early promotional material for Suicide Squad seemed to confirm that the DC Extended Universe would be taking a much more serious storytelling route, even with its more off-brand entries.
Complete the mission, you get time off your prison sentence. Fail the mission, you die.
However, some poor reception to the former film and a lot of reshoots later, Suicide Squad turned into basically a jumbled PG-13 mess whose rating undercut much of the thematic richness of its source material.
I need you to play nice with the other children.
And quietly return to my cage.
Fortunately, now that superhero movies had more success in R territory, reports have surfaced that the sequel will indeed go edgier. Still, we'll believe it when we see it.
Everybody down! Get the chingaste away.
Number 19, Mortal Kombat.
You fool!
Mortal Kombat was, and still is, one of the bloodiest video games of all time. After its release in the arcade, a live-action feature was inevitable. The film itself is okay, bearing the look and characters of the video game, plus that kick-ass theme song.
Weak, pathetic fools, I've come for your souls.
I don't think so.
Yet there's still a grave disappointment that came with its PG-13 rating. This means no blood and gore, poor fatalities, and pretty much none of the gruesome imagery that Mortal Kombat is best known for.
Right, finish him.
No, sir, no, don't. Oh, give me a break.
Okay.
It might have been a box office champ, but the film was far from a flawless victory when it comes to faithfully adapting its source material. The 2021 reboot, thankfully, is slated to be rated R.
Get over here!
Number 18, Ghost in the Shell. If only a PG-13 rating was the worst of this movie's problems. A live-action remake of the 1995 anime film of the same name, which in turn was based on the manga series, 2017's Ghost in the Shell was primed to challenge audiences with weighty sci-fi themes and striking visuals.
Let's see who's worth this kind of surveillance. Accessing hotel security network.
What we got was a fairly lifeless slog that failed to capture the essence of the source material.
Where's Kuze? Why does he want to kill Ulay?
I don't know anything.
While the story never called for excessive violence, a sharper edge could have made up for dull acting and writing and fit the adult viewing experience. Instead, producers took the safe route with its rating and still had it falter financially, though we're sure a lot of that had to do with the whitewashing controversy.
Target acquired.
Number 17, The Shallows. Between this, Shark Night, and the 47 Meters Down movies, shark-based horror thrillers have, oddly enough, skewed more to the PG-13 crowd than the R-rated one. Granted, that's probably where the big bucks are, but more often than not, it neuters the bloody carnage we already know is happening. Of the aforementioned films, The Shallows is easily the best, what with its pulse-pounding set pieces and clever camera work. But we can't deny that it would have been better had it gone all out. Just judging by the way it roughs up its protagonist, we can feel this movie wanting to go R, unafraid to make its beasts seem ferocious. Still, every time it flirts with an R rating, the movie pumps the brakes. Number 16, Alien vs. Predator. How in the ever-loving heck did we get a crossover movie of two of sci-fi's bloodiest franchises that was rated PG-13? How?
I don't know.
On paper, it would seem that both series' usual flourishes are represented, with a tricked-out arsenal of deadly predator weapons and plenty of xenomorph chest bursting. Sure, there are gobs of green alien blood, but otherwise, perhaps for fear of already feeling silly conceptually, Alien vs. Predator was stripped of its teeth. Both layers of teeth, that is. A sequel, Aliens vs. Predator Requiem, and marketed as AVPR, learned this lesson and went to the next level. Only somehow it managed to be worse all the same.
See? No monster.
Oh well, at least we have the unrated cut.
When that door opens, we're gonna give that thing his gun back.
Number 15, The Wolverine.
It's Logan. And that's a poison broadhead, which last I heard was illegal.
Comic book readers know Wolverine as one of the deadliest, most badass characters ever created. While we got to glimpse some of his famous berserker rage in X2, moviegoers haven't been treated to a true show of his full abilities. 2013's The Wolverine could have been the opportunity fans had been waiting for.
That's right.
Wait! No! You wanted the truth! I told you the truth!
I didn't like it.
We mean, come on, it's Wolverine versus ninjas in Japan. That's a bloodfest waiting to happen. Sadly, the X-Men franchise has been keen on keeping their films open to all theater-going audiences.
What kind of monster are you?
The Wolverine.
We did, however, get an unrated version with the Blu-ray release, but come on, we want to see that added R stuff up on the big screen.
Go f yourself, pretty boy.
Thankfully, 2017's Logan went the R route. Number 14, Assassin's Creed. According to the Entertainment Software Rating Board, the Assassin's Creed games have largely been rated M for mature for blood, strong violence, strong language, and in some cases, sexual content. The movie, on the other hand, rated PG-13 for intense sequences of violence and action, thematic elements, and brief, strong language. So in essence, the video game, but toned way down.
Oh Lord, wash away my sin.
As if the stylization of the movie wasn't languid and pallid enough, any chance of redemption in the form of believable action sequences went right out the window. Even on an intellectual level, we can feel the movie wants to be mature, so why wouldn't it do so in other aspects?
This is wrong.
Number 13, Pearl Harbor.
Hammer down!
Using film to teach a history lesson isn't an uncommon practice. Still, there is a difference between the hard R realism of a film like Saving Private Ryan and the young adult marketed and PG-13 rated Pearl Harbor. Director Michael Bay's retelling of the December 1941 attack on the titular naval base had its moments of intensity, but focusing on a boring love triangle for younger audiences rather than going for an honest war tragedy felt like an insult to the historic event itself.
Get the ammo for that 50 cal! Get that 50 cal!
Though a triumph at the box office, Pearl Harbor is far from the over-the-top, violent explosion fests Michael Bay is best known for. Number 12, Insidious.
You have to shine the light at Josh.
Most horror movies in general should be created with an R rating in mind. The images they can produce are often intense and can sometimes stick in your head for days. Insidious, from director James Wan, centers on a family trying to keep ghosts from taking over their son.
We are calling out to you, Dalton. Tell us you're safe. Tell us where you are.
Unsurprisingly, this storyline produces some of those aforementioned long-lasting horror images. Despite a PG-13 rating giving audiences the okay to bring their kids in with them, it shouldn't come as a shock to anyone if their kids come running to them in the middle of the night, saying they dreamt of some of the scary stuff they saw in Insidious. Horror is a fun genre, but maybe it's not for all ages. Number 11, The Ring. This is the movie that scared a whole generation of youngsters. And while it subsequently served as the introduction to horror for many, the ring gets pretty cozy sidling up next to that R boundary without ever crossing it.
7 days.
It is rife with bleak color palettes and strikingly disturbing imagery, so much so that you wouldn't know it was PG-13 just by looking at it. In fact, much of the graphic violence had to be either toned down or removed completely to avoid an R rating, including the infamous flashback to a murder. Just looking at the box office receipts, we can see why this choice was made, but we would still like to see the whole shebang. Number 10, Terminator Genisys.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys.
You remember the Terminator films, right? You know, those unstoppable cyborg fight fests with harsh language and bloody action? Well, Hollywood felt that after years of R-rated exclusiveness, it was time to branch out to a wider audience. While Genisys isn't the first PG-13 rated entry in this franchise, it was a mistake to keep that trend going after Terminator Salvation was so poorly received.
Make your choice.
If you ask most fans, Genisys didn't need to exist in general.
Nice to see you. Get out.
Despite Arnold Schwarzenegger's praised return, treating the film with kid gloves didn't help its chances of being a new launch point for the once prideful Terminator series.
I'm old, not obsolete.
Number 9, Sucker Punch.
He brings in his clients, and we gotta make him feel, you know.
Director Zack Snyder followed up his successful R-rated adaptations of 300 and Watchmen with this stylish fantasy action flick. Following the exploits of Baby Doll, who seeks to escape an insane asylum/brothel, the film boasts much of Snyder's visual flair and skill for darker storytelling.
Mine's personal. It says who I am. What the heck does yours say?
It says I'm gonna escape from here. That I'm gonna be free.
With subject matter that deals with lobotomy and the danger of rape at the hands of the insane head honchos of the facility, it's kinda strange that this movie wasn't rated R.
Oh, is that it? Is that all you got?
Snyder reportedly originally wanted it to be that way, but had to cut scenes for the censors.
So, don't feel bad about killing them. They're already dead.
Maybe he also did it to bring younger viewers, especially girls, into an action film led by powerful female leads. Whatever the reasons, the decision was a sucker punch to the film and led it to underperform at the box office.
How about something a little more commercial, for God's sakes?
Number 8, The Expendables 3. Believe it or not, this wasn't the first attempt to make the Expendables franchise more open to all ages. The same tactic had been attempted with the Expendables 2.
You will force me to cut his heart out.
Do it, you piece of shit.
This was quickly met with rage and boycott threats from fans.
Watch closely. And again? Anybody else?
The Expendables series is supposed to be filled with nods to the glory days of 80s action films.
So you're really gonna go back?
Yeah.
Alone?
Yeah.
You an idiot.
There should be a ton of blood, one-liners, muscle-bound strongmen, and a lot of explosions. Compared to the first two films, The Expendables 3 is pretty tame and borderline boring, even with all the explosions. Hopefully, the lesson will be learned here for future installments of this action franchise, and we can get back to basics. Number 7, Venom.
Launch the drone.
Here's yet another comic book adaptation restrained by the superhero genre's predisposition to the PG-13 rating. Centering around the classic Spider-Man villain turned anti-hero, Venom was set up perfectly to be the kind of high-octane, head-biting blockbuster that could give longtime fans the chance to revel in the kind of bloody, cinematic fun they couldn't have if the character were under the banner of the MCU. But nope, turns out Sony decided otherwise.
Mask! Copy!
What the hell is that?
It is beyond us how they could make a movie about a gelatinous monster that eats criminals PG-13, let alone its upcoming sequel, Venom Let There Be Carnage. Somehow, we doubt there will be.
When I get out of here, and I will, there's gonna be carnage.
Number 6, The Dark Knight. And to keep the comic book train rolling a little longer, let's look at what many consider to be the gold standard for superhero movies, The Dark Knight.
You wanna know how I got these scars?
No, never did we expect Warner Brothers to actually make a Batman movie rated R, nor do we still in this movie-going climate. But how cool would it be if they did? Of course, by proxy, that means Batman Begins and The Dark Knight Rises deserve special mention, but if there's one particular entry in Christopher Nolan's trilogy that feels tailor-made for the R treatment, it's this one. Heath Ledger's nightmarish performance as the Joker alone is evidence of that.
You see, I'm a guy of simple taste. I enjoy, dynamite and gunpowder.
Number 5, Drag Me to Hell. Sam Raimi, though perhaps most widely known for helming the Spider-Man trilogy, got his start establishing himself in the horror genre. We don't know about you, but we cannot imagine his pulpy Evil Dead movies being anything other than R. So with it being in much the same vein, who thought it would be best to make his return to horror, Drag Me to Hell, PG-13?
You shamed me.
It didn't burn down the box office like some other entries on this list, so we don't think it would have isolated most of its audience by going R.
I don't want your cat, you dirty pork queen!
Nevertheless, producers, for some reason, found the need to have much of the bloodletting excised from the finished product. That's like eating a hot dog with nothing on it.
Oh my god!
Number 4, RoboCop.
Alex, you have to stop. Please. Alex.
Please stop.
Much like Terminator, RoboCop was a staple of the 80s action genre.
Go ahead.
The original was one of the most excessively violent action films ever made. And that violence is one of the main reasons people remember it. Rebooting the character for a new generation wasn't a terrible idea.
I mean you no harm. If I wanted to, I could have killed you a long time ago.
No, the terrible idea was eliminating most of the violence, especially with regards to how cop Alex Murphy becomes the titular cyborg. Whether or not this reboot is better than its PG-13 brother RoboCop 3 is debatable.
Stop them! Stop them!
Still, this action film doesn't hold a candle to the very hard R entries that preceded it.
No, in front of everyone. Confess!
Number 3, World War Z.
How do we know they're coming?
They're coming.
A zombie outbreak that wreaks havoc on a global scale?
Coming over the top!
Like zombies desperate for brains, this is the kind of undead epic fans of the zombie genre have been clamoring for. And while World War Z boasts great scope and superstar Brad Pitt, it loses some of its intensity with the dialed-down rating. The Romero-style carnage we find in most battles against the undead are nowhere to be seen in this Mark Forster-directed movie. While a fun film, World War Z could have been better if it had been given the chance to show those old-school gruesome zombie horror tropes on a worldwide stage. Number 2, Taken. Honestly, just by watching this one, many of us might have been tricked into thinking it was rated R.
Someone here.
Her cousins are back?
Oh my god, they got Amanda!
What?
Credited for kickstarting Liam Neeson's career rebirth as a badass action star, Taken follows retired field agent Brian Mills as he tracks down his daughter's kidnappers in an attempt to save her from European human trafficking.
Where is she?
Now, if that's not an R-rated premise, we don't know what is. Somehow avoiding nudity despite delving into the thick of the sex trade, the movie also skimps on the bloodier aspects of Brian's quest.
Let's get going. Dinner is over.
I'm not finished yet.
Thankfully, the action still is entertaining, but it definitely could have used an R rating, to say nothing of its lackluster sequels.
Do you know how to shoot?
No.
Then drive.
Before we unveil our top pick, here are some honorable mentions. The Austin Powers franchise, randier than most R-rated fare.
Do I make you horny? Randy? Do I make you horny, baby? Yeah, do I?
God, I hope this is part of the unfreezing process.
Black Christmas, but it's a slasher movie. Total Recall, not as edgy as the original. Spawn, seriously toned down from comic book. The Hunger Games franchise. These could have been darker. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Live Free or Die Hard.
Jerk off!
This one might be one of the most successful entries on this list, with some calling this movie the best Die Hard since the original.
Come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs.
Still, making a Die Hard movie PG-13 isn't without drawbacks. The blood and violence the franchise is partly known for is tremendously toned down compared to previous entries. And while John McClane remains the king of badass one-liners, his signature motto is almost completely muted.
How about yippee-ki-yay,
That alone is pretty unforgivable. Probably best to stick with an R rating and let McClane do his thing unhindered and uncut.
Playtime's over, sweetheart. Don't. Take your hand off the gun.
Then again, it's not like an R rating saved a good day to Die Hard.
So that's not your thing, John. What's my thing? Killing bad guys, that's your thing.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.